let's take a couple minutes and talk about setting up demand control for the machine. So the most important setting is under Unit Config, General, Unit Control Type. This is also part of the quick setup that we went through in another video, but let's go into a little more detail here. So Unit Control Type. As you can see, it's defaulted to Thermostat. So T-Stat, it's defaulted to that. You can change it to Space Sensor or RAT Control. As the unit shipped, it's set for T-Stat, meaning the machine's not going to run and do anything until it gets inputs on the thermostat inputs. Once you set this to Space Sensor, he's going to start reading the Space Sensor input and controlling right off the bat. So it's important to know that. Same with RAT sensor control. Once you switch it, he's going to switch over modes and he's going to look at the temperature and compare the set points and stuff. So before you change it, make sure you get your set points and those things kind of squared away. If you are using a thermostat, there's this additional configuration called Thermostat Type, which you can change the type of thermostat. Most applications are going to be using the conventional two-stage cool, two-stage heat. That's the first one. That is what the default is. But if you have a digital stat or three-stage cooling and you want to handle that, you can. It's not needed. It's not advised. Keep it on two-stage cool, two-stage heat. You'll be all set. So I want to change it to Space Sensor. So I got a Space Sensor. That's a recommended control of this machine. It's going to give you the best optimal control. So I want to change this to Space Sensor. Before I change this, you can hit Menu, go to Settings, and the very first one off the bat is Space Set Points. So here, you know, there are defaults, but there's occupied and there's unoccupied heating and cooling. So you want to go in and set these based on what the desire is. If you have a building network or communicating sensors, you would want to set those up ahead of time because they will drive these and you don't set them up here. Same thing with if you have an RH sensor, then this is where you would set your RH sensor set points. So occupied versus unoccupied RH, and then what the deadband you might want. And for a tad bit of detail, there's these low cool on, low cool off, high cool on, high cool off, those kinds of things. Those are settings. You can see there's a chart in the literature that will show you how much above or below set point that we actually kick on the demand. So here's where you would set those. So once you have these set points and your demand trigger set properly, then you would go in, go to Unit Config, General, and you would change your control type to Space Sensor. And it's going to kick on and it's just going to start running whatever that Space Sensor is. Again, if you have building or ZS sensors, communicating sensors, any of those kinds of things, then it's going to take that information from the building or the sensors and just start operating. Return air sensor, if it's using that, again, he's going to use the return air sensor. Thermostat, if you leave it on that, will always wait for the thermostat inputs.